This is Mr. West, Rossit's Most Stylish. Today I'm here to talk to you about the USA mock exam and the question structure and styles that you're going to get in that exam. Now, obviously it's a mock, but the question structure and style will be the same, so it's well worth getting it locked in your mind. It's 40 marks will be available, 20 marks for sources, and 20 marks what I've called knowledge. Okay, let's start with the knowledge questions. Now these are just simple questions that don't require any sources or anything like that. Obviously the first type is a describe question for 4 marks. It's simply marked on what they call a penny point system. How many points have you written that are correct? Up to 4, you can get 4 marks. If you only write 2 correct things, you're only going to get 2, so on and so forth. So describe the flappers, describe FDR's actions in the first 100 days in office. Those are 2 good examples of the type of question you can get. Again, 4 marks, write 4 things. It's as simple as that. Then we on to the explain question, which is for 6 marks. Good examples: explain why prohibition wasn't successfully enforced, explain why some people opposed a New Deal. You're looking to explain 2 different points and to try and split them into 2 separate paragraphs. So we've got 2 answers there to the same question. Okay, and if you can do that well, you can get up to 6 marks. Okay, the key point is though that you've got to use specific knowledge. What do you know about the New Deal or about prohibition that you can bring into this? Split it up into 2 separate paragraphs when you come to answer it. And finally is the essay question. That's for 10 marks. Okay, why was there a boom in the USA in the 1920s? Speculation was the main cause of the Depression. Occasionally, obviously, the most simple form is a simple question like that. Why was there a boom? Okay, several answers are available. You write about 3 or 4 reasons. Conclusion, done. But this type of question is slightly different, where they'll give you one of the reasons. And the one good example is the car sparked the boom. To what extent do you agree with that statement? Okay, speculation was the main cause of the Depression. Those kind of things. Obviously, when you get that kind of question, you must start with that. So you need to start with speculation. Okay, if it was overproduction, you need to have that in your first paragraph. With this one, it's largely up to you, although you should try and follow a chronology or chronological order. Obviously, this is the key point. Remember that it is an essay. Okay, it should be structured like one. Sometimes I find in a mock exam that people will just chuck an answer down, right, one long paragraph. I think, well, we've done all that work on essays in history. Why has that just gone out the window now? We should have clear paragraphs that are linked to the question. Remember, you should tell me the answer. Each paragraph should have a topic and then some evidence about that topic, and then it should link to the question. All right. So in this case, speculation. You might say, well, speculation from America, a gamble on the price of shares and land in Florida rising. And evidence of this is and this links to the question because speculation helped to cause the Depression because people lost lots of money, and off you go like that. So it's really important that you can tell me the answer. Don't forget that, and you need a conclusion that directly answers the question. For this first one, why was there a boom in the USA in the 1920s, is fairly straightforward. Obviously for this one though, you must deal with the issue about whether speculation was the main cause or whatever's there if it's that question still. As I say, we can look at this. At first it appears that, and then however upon closer inspection, if you're struggling for an argument, okay, it might seem at first that speculation was the main cause of the Depression because we've got all those images of people being ruined by the Wall Street crash. We see people jumping out of buildings. We know the amount of money was lost was huge. However, upon closer inspection, it might seem that overproduction or something like that was an underlying cause of the Depression. And clearly, if you can put that kind of structure in, you're developing your argument nicely. Okay, so that's a knowledge question. Let's move over to the sources, all right? As I say, for 20 marks. And the first thing I've done now, it's a bit complicated, in terms of how it looks, but I've linked use specific knowledge to every question. What do you know about this topic? And I'm talking facts and figures and dates, specific things about this. Okay, so you're going to get 3 question stems. What's the message in source 7, all right? And you want to try and explain this by starting off with what you think the main message is. So looking at the picture, remember that classic one of the farmer on his leaning on his hoe, looking into the city and seeing the money being made. Yeah, what's the message of that? Start with that, and then move on and further develop your answer by saying which specific parts of the source you've used to help work this out. So literally look through the source, picking out details and explaining how they've helped you. Then further develop this by explaining which specific knowledge has helped you to work this out. So in that farming example, you might say about the money that was being made in the cities and how farmers were struggling, okay? And I think this is important. It should look like 3 short paragraphs. It should start with a little paragraph that says the main messages, then specific parts of the source, and then specific knowledge has helped you to work this out. Okay, so what's the message in source? And obviously it's whichever source for 7 marks. Okay, now then, why was this source produced? All right, and yeah, that's the first question. What is the purpose of it? All right, is it produced to persuade people even of a certain view? All right, so is it from a certain party, or is it from a, you know, like this one here we've got? It's obviously trying to promote America in the 20s as a great place. Look how important the builder is, and that's obviously partly why it is produced. Key point, look at the provenance. Now in my brilliant screenshot here, you can't actually read what it says, but it's really important to see where the sources come from. Okay, and what specific knowledge do you know that links to the source? So in this example, obviously we want to talk about maybe New York doubled in size, suburbs were also increasing, gross point in Detroit increased by 700%, and even cities that didn't need skyscrapers because the land wasn't that expensive still were building skyscrapers like this guy's showing here to try and get that point across that they were wealthy and successful. Yeah. Okay, and then how far does source whatever explain why? So an example might be, how far does this source explain why there was a depression, or explain why there was a boom, or something like that. So there's 2 parts to this. First of all, don't just accept what the source says, all right? It'll be put there to put across one view or another. And if you were just there just sort of saying, well, actually I completely agree with it, then the examiner's going to realise you're a little bit of a mug. So don't be in that category. First of all, what do you know about the topic that proves what the source is saying? So look at the source. What is it about? And what do you know about the topic that you can bring in? Again, specific knowledge is brilliant. And then, what do you know about the topic that proves that the source is wrong? So, if it was how far does source say, which could be a picture of a Ford motor car, explain why there was a boom in America. Clearly, you want to tell me about Ford motor cars, its production line, the number of cars that were made, bought and sold, and things like that. But also, you know other things that prove that actually it wasn't just Ford's car. Maybe American state of mind or the First World War. So clearly, that's it. Don't just accept what the source says, and try and do both of those things. And as always, try and use specific knowledge to help you to answer these questions. Alright, so that's your USA mock exam, and they're the 6 types of question that you're going to be looking at. Thanks for listening.